Hello, hello, hello there, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Let's check, make sure everything's all good. Come on in here for coffee time career chat today. Let's see. Here we go. And we're up. Yay. All right. So, here we go. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday to you all. It's time for Coffee Time Career Chat. Yes, with Patricia Hayes Workman. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an executive advisor, career empowerment coach, and authentic networking strategist. And I'm super happy to be able to continue this work with you on our Monday Coffee Time Career Chats, where we talk about all things that affect you professionally and personally in the context of personal growth, professional growth, and how you can pursue success on your terms in your way while being true to your core values, right? That's what we're all about here. So that said, we're going to jump straight in. It is a new month. Can you believe that? It's February 1st of 2021. And I am super excited because February is always rich with Black History Month. So always looking forward to opportunities to share and to learn myself about all things Black history, as well as starting off a new month when it comes to our topics. We discuss things in general by topic per month to kind of give some direction. I'm always open that if you all come up with something, I'm sure we will cover it at some point in time. So please, please, please be sure to share your issues, your concerns, your questions at any given time, because we want to make sure that this stays relevant to you in today's time. That said, this month, in the month of love, we are going to be talking about self-care and self-sabotage. Whew. It's like, take a deep breath even with that, because probably if one or the other of those terms like bring some angst to you. And so we're going to talk about those things this month, but in terms of how are you taking care of yourself professionally, how are you self-sabotaging yourself professionally, which always means there's probably a link to something that's going on personally. So we're going to work through, I'm not a fan of the word balance, but balancing those things and looking at them, and if nothing else, being much more aware, okay? And this week in particular, we're going to talk about addressing your fear of success. Now, here's the thing. I know the first time I heard that, I don't know, it's been a few years now, about linking, we all have fears of failure, fear of doing all this, but the first time I heard that term, fear of success, I was like, that's ridiculous. I really did. I was like, that, how is that possible? And as I continued to work with the coach I was working with then, and then others that I've learned, and through studying and reading, I'm like, man, like this is a real thing. That it's not about sometimes being, fear of failure directly, because that happens and it does tie into. But fear of success is its own thing, and it's a real thing. And we're going to talk about that some today, and about how these mindset challenges that we have always, if not, or often, if not always, have some element of fear to them, right? And we want to make sure that we address those things in the ways that we best need to, but also to raise our awareness so that we can address them more quickly as they come up. So first of all, make sure you recognize that it is a mindset issue, okay? That you have a lot of things going on, and that when you all of a sudden are like, oh, but what if, like, there's this great opportunity, and then when all of a sudden, instead of being super excited just about the opportunity, all of a sudden you're talking about, oh, but what if this, oh, I'm probably not qualified and all. And you're like, what is going on here? This is where that fear of success comes up, and where we start doing those things to neglect ourselves professionally, and even sabotage ourselves. So let's dig in a little bit more. Why fear of success? Like, why is there such thing, or what triggers these things? That's really what we're talking about. One of the first things to recognize is that when you suddenly have this angst or anxiety about doing something very well, that it goes beyond just being scared about, oh, what if I fail, right? Because that truly is a different thing. But what if what we're really doing is we're more concerned about how the next level is outside of our current comfort zone of experiences? When you think about that, it's like, wow, that really rings true. Because a lot of the times, that success, that next thing, it's not so much of like our inability to perform. A lot of times we don't really have that. Now that'll sneak in, and that's where that fear of failure is like, what if I can't perform or whatever. But think about it in these terms of why you're not consistently pursuing what it is you're doing next. Hey, Melanie, what it is you're doing next. And a lot of times it's because, that next level of what it is we want to do, of what we're trying to reach for, is outside our comfort zone. Excuse me. And not just that it's outside our comfort zone, like, because that's to be expected, right? But it's outside our comfort zone of our experiences. Because sometimes we can be reaching to the next level of something, but it's still within the things we're familiar with. So it can be a little uncomfortable, but we're still familiar with that. So, okay, we probably can work through it. But when we start reaching for things that are not just outside of our comfort zone, but outside of our comfort zone of our current experiences, well, man, the whole, everything, all the buzzers and ringers and triggers start going off, right? And that is because our brains are wired to recognize things that are new and uncomfortable to us as some type of danger, right? And so that's where we're just like, oh no. And I am no psychotherapist. There are tons more people experiencing this, but these are the things that are true when we're talking about mindset and how we approach our next level experiences and our next level in our goals. So we have to recognize what those things are for what they are, and that getting out of our comfort zones can definitely, cause us much angst, especially when along with it comes new experiences that we are not familiar with, okay? So that's one of those things where fear of success comes into play. One of the next things is that, and this is like on a continuum, right? Is that this uncertainty creates anxiety. So you're outside your comfort zones, you're outside your comfort zone of your current experiences or anything that you're familiar with. And so that means what's happening now? Now you're like, what in the world is going on? Like, what am I going to do? Or what if this happens? Or, oh my gosh, if it really does go well, like, what am I going to do next? Well, all of that uncertainty that comes with it, that's totally natural now, first of all, okay? Totally normal. Have all that uncertainty, but then it starts raising our anxiety about what we're about to do. So that instead of being excited and thrilled about it, we're like anxious, and you start thinking about all the worst case scenarios, right? This is when your brain goes on overload of like, are you crazy? Why are you doing this? Like, you don't know what's going to happen here. What if this happens? What if that happens? And it's like, oh my gosh. And that's, another trigger point. That uncertainty creates anxiety, and that then further leads you to doing things that where you neglect yourself and doing what you need to do, maybe giving yourself sufficient reflection time, making sure you get enough rest so you can make good decisions, whatever that looks like. Or you start self-sabotaging, which is you start undermining yourself in the process, okay, which is the worst thing. All right. So continuing on that continuum, here's the third thing. Did you like that? Continuing on the continuum. I know, whatever. But next is that anxiety about who or what success will require leaving behind. Now, this is one to take a really deep breath on, because most of the time, this is not something that comes to the forefront when we are talking about what we're doing next and how we're succeeding. when you're at that next level of success. This is really peeling back the layers on the onion, okay? Because those first two things, very much common. You could probably get to that. It's like, oh my gosh, it's outside my comfort zone. It's all new things. And it's like, I want to do so well. And like, you get stuck and scared about how well you'll do, right? And about, what happens if you really do well. And then the anxiety and the uncertainty, the uncertainty and the anxiety that comes as a result of that. But this one, getting to the fact of that anxiety leading to questions about what that success will do with your personal relationships, with your professional relationships, and what if you have to leave some of those people or things, habits behind. Wow. Now that is one for the reflection. Journal, time, whatever. Really giving thought to that. And if that's something that's giving a rise, is arising for you. Because if that is the case, this is absolutely one of those things where you either neglect yourself for self-care purposes, meaning you're trying to do everything to continue to please other people as opposed to pursuing your success, or pursuing the thing that's working best for you. You're trying to modify, underplay what it is, how successful you are, hide it, whatever, so that you don't, quote, offend or upset certain people. Or maybe there are certain habits that you just kind of, again, that's that comfort zone thing that you have to let go of, because when you're at the next level of achieving your goals, you really don't have time to have, or to foster negative thoughts, bad habits. You've got to let them go, right? Or that piece where literally you're like, oh my gosh, like I have to leave these people behind or this thing behind. Most of the time, definitely people, especially when they're personal, when it's family, when it's close friends, when it's professional relationships. And let me tell you, it is not an easy thing to do. It is very much a challenging thing, but it can be done. And it is necessary if you are truly to get to your next level and to succeed. Now, we're going to talk about next how to overcome all of these different things, okay? And one of the first things when we're talking about overcoming any of these things, and there's so much more, we're just limiting here, but when you're trying to overcome this fear of success and how it plays out, the first thing you have to do, really and truly, is very simple. Remember your goals and dreams. Remember your why. Why are you pursuing that next level goal? Why are you excited about fulfilling that dream? This is a mindset shift, and to get you to refocus off of all the negative and all the triggers and all that, but going back to, hey, I really do have a reason why I'm trying to get to this next thing, right? It could be as pure and raw as I need to make more money. But a lot of times, even that is connected to something deeper, right? It's not just about the money. Maybe the money represents freedom for your family, freedom to work a more flexible schedule, freedom to have more time with your children, freedom to go share and be with your parents or close family members that you don't get to right now because you're time bound by the type of job that you have, or you don't have as much flexibility because you don't have the authority to make certain decisions. And so that next level goal will give you that. So even if it's saying, oh, I need to make more money. Why do you need to make more money? Why do you want to make more money? Why do you want to have that next level position or opportunity, right? And all of those things, when you remember your why and you sit back and take that reflection time, that is one of the first steps to overcoming, and addressing that so that you can continue along the path and not hurt yourself by, a lot of times reflecting in your health, not taking good care of yourself from a health perspective, or not taking good care of yourself from an emotional, and professionally, where you start, not taking on new responsibilities, or you let things slip. All of those things, that's self-sabotage and where it comes in. The second thing about overcoming is, here's a reality. Growth requires discomfort. And so we have to maintain that excitement about the growth. Don't focus so much on the discomfort that will come as a result of it, but remembering again the why of why you're doing certain things, so that you can grow, so that you can be a better version of you, so that you can provide for your family in the way that you really want and dream about doing, right? So that you can have the flexibility to go pursue that special project, that special thing that you want to do, that opportunity to travel and to incorporate it into your work. Whatever it is, the sky is the limit. But it requires growth, and growth requires discomfort. So when you recognize that that is just a part of what it is and what it means in order to achieve the next level and to be successful, it's coming to terms with it and say, okay, I understand. Like recognizing it, and then be like, okay, well, we're going to move on because I got to grow. If it means that I have to get to X, right, but I have to jump through a couple other letters to get there, and it'd be a little uncomfortable in the way, but I'm going to get there in the long run, that's what we have to focus on, all right? So acknowledge growth as a part of the process, and that discomfort comes along with it. It's just a part of the package. Right? It's not unusual. It doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It doesn't mean that maybe you don't deserve the success. It means none of that. Okay? Those are all false negatives moving forward with trying to keep you from moving to the next level. Okay? The third thing that came to mind here is that when you overcome, one of the things you have to do is to decrease that anxiety, right? And a couple of ways to do it. One of the first ones that always comes to mind is that you have to chunk down those new situations and the roles that you're playing, right? So if there's this big, huge thing that comes along with the success, and you're looking at it, you're just completely overwhelmed. Like you've been named, the head of a new department, if you've been named the head of a great new project with a new team, if you have been appointed to a board that you've been super excited about being added to, but now you're actually there, and someone's actually, just like, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to do that? Well, here's the thing is, yes, acknowledge that success of reaching that next level, okay? Because a lot of times we don't celebrate that. We don't acknowledge that in the way that we should. That's a whole other conversation. But the other thing also, and this is big on the self-care and to manage how you, to stay away from, sabotaging yourself more, but big on the self-care portion, which is chunk it down into smaller, manageable things. Okay? When you do that, you automatically will become will feel more in command and control of what it is you're doing, that you are like, okay, this is doable. Because instead of saying one big giant thing, you're like, okay, what is this really? Well, this is 5 different things. Like, why am I freaking out? Like, there's no way all of this can be done at one time. The success came, quote, all at one time after much work and opportunities, I'm sure, to present themselves. But now to stand in it, to be powerful in it, means that you say, oh gosh, this is great. There's this thing, whatever those are, to chunk them down. And then so that you can then figure out what is you need to delegate. What is it that you still need to own? What is it that needs to happen next in whatever way, whether something needs to be added or taken away. But chunking those down into that, chunking down that success, say this was a great thing and this is what happens next for it, that will help you in managing that anxiety and to make sure that you don't kill yourself trying to address everything at once, because then you're going to turn that fear of success into fear of failure. Okay? So don't lead yourself down that path. It's natural, it's human for it to come up, so don't try to ignore it. But don't take yourself down that path willingly. Okay, recognize it for what it is, which we're going to talk about in just a second. The other thing is you can decrease that anxiety by considering what is best gained. Like, what is about to be gained from this? I mean, this is getting back a little bit to that excitement about what's to come. Holding on to that part. Again, fear and anxiety, totally normal. But you don't want it overtaking and overcoming everything that you've worked so hard to, and to make it such that you can't continue along that path to success. Okay? So consider what has been gained, like for real. It's like, man, I'm all worked up about this, but guess what? I have a team now. I don't have to do all of this by myself. That is huge. That is huge. Okay? Man, I'm on this board now. I'm like, oh, well, what does that mean? It means maybe I have more exposure to the types of people that will help me to be able to achieve those goals and dreams that I have about this particular issue. Okay? So consider what has been gained, not just what you, quote, lost. Because a lot of times, it's not so much about the loss as it is about what you've gained moving forward and how you can build on it and shift. Specifically when we get to this people thing, right? When we're growing, but we're either, scared of being successful because we don't want to be looked down upon, which is the craziest thing. But it is a thing where you're afraid to be looked down upon because you're successful. I'm like, oh, she thinks she's too good for us now. Or why are you trying to do that? Isn't that going to be too much for you? Guess what? Those things and those people, that's dealing with their own mindset that they're trying to project on you. All right? It doesn't have to get nasty. It doesn't have to be ugly. Like you say, thank you so much for your input, but I am super excited about this. I would love for you to be excited for me as well. But if that's not possible, that's okay. But I got to keep moving forward. And one of the things is starting to separate out, like, it doesn't mean, especially when it comes to friends and family members or super close friends who are like family and people, that's one of those things that people really can get tied down in of like, I can't be successful or I can't move to that next level because I may have to leave them behind. It doesn't mean that you have to leave them behind because it's really hard sometimes to leave our family behind, right? They're still there. They're there connected by blood. But what it does mean is that perhaps you shift how you relate and communicate with them. Maybe you're not sharing all your professional wins with them. Maybe because they're intimidated by it. I'm going to tell you what it is. I am speaking from truth and from what I know. Okay? Not something that came to an easy conclusion. It was very rough and very painful. But they very much may be intimidated by it. Your success may reflect back to them on things that they haven't done for themselves. So it's about resentment, nothing you have control over, nothing that you can own or should own. Those are things that they have to own for themselves. Just like your fears may be projected on someone else, but they can't do anything about it. Like you have to do something about it. All right? So you cannot allow what someone else is projecting onto you to inhibit you from pursuing where it is you're already naturally going to, where you're, utilize your God-given gifts, your strengths, all of those great things that ultimately, a lot of times, if truth be told, are going to be beneficial to the very people who are nitpicking with you. That's a whole other conversation. But this is why I say what you can do is to manage that. Because, sometimes you don't need to share how much money you make with your friends. Some people may not be ready to know about that 6-figure salary, right? Because that means you're taking on a new, people sometimes can make assumptions, and sometimes it's okay to just let them. Don't fulfill it, don't deny it, because if that's going to take them down this path where it's going to reflect poorly on you, well, those are personal decisions. But what I'm saying is be much more conscientious of your communications and what you share with certain people, especially family, because you can maintain that personal contact. You can talk about fun things. You can talk about the family trips you're planning. You can do all of those things. But maybe the piece that gets left behind is if one of those people was your quote sounding board for professional things and it's no longer a solid role for them. So maybe that's the thing you're leaving behind. That's not necessarily bad, because remember we talked about growth, and growth can be uncomfortable. So maybe it's time to pick up on a new sounding board, to get a new accountability partner, someone who does support where you're headed and where you are. Hey, Selma. All right? And when you do that, that helps and propels you forward. I say it like this. I love this analogy. I do not remember where I found it, but it's that whole thing about when you're getting on a plane and you're finally able to fly first class. Like super fun, super like, ooh, kind of that special thing. That's really cool. But then your friend's getting on and they're in coach. Oh, so you think you all that now that you're flying first class. And how much did you pay for that ticket anyways? Is that really necessary? And all of that, right? Which can come out of jealousy, envy, again, resentment, because maybe they're not pursuing their goals in the way that they need to be, okay? Here's the thing. You're on the same plane, hopefully. Eventually, maybe you'll be able to pull them, or they will be able to ride along with you first class or on the same plane. But if not, are you really going to turn down that first class trip because your friend doesn't think that, or your friend thinks that maybe you're getting too good for your britches? Are you really going to turn down that opportunity that you busted your butt for to get because your friend or your family member thinks that maybe you're out of your league? Are you really going to do that? I'm all for taking in constructive criticism. It's difficult, and it can be challenging, but it's also going to be necessary. But constructive, not something that offers criticism that then also tears you down and does not support you in moving you forward. There is a difference. And so when those criticisms are based in someone else's self-interest, right? It's in their own self-interest to tear you down. It's in their own self-interest to try to keep you down. It's the whole crabs in a bucket thing. Remember that. The crabs are all in a big bucket, and the ones who are trying to get out, then the others are like, no, you can't get out, and they're literally pulling at their limbs so that they can't get out. But we all know that there are also times, and this is a whole different conversation, that when you get out of that bucket, when you get into that first class, seat, you're on that flight, even if it's, you're on a flight, your coach flight to Italy. Hello, because I don't think it matters whether you're flying coach or first class. You're getting to go take the trip of your dreams, right? But someone's questioning, oh, how did she do that? And that, none of their business. Start to separate yourself. If they grow and can start to be appreciative of everything that you're doing and what you're doing, then maybe eventually they get to come along. But that does not mean you don't hold back your growth and moving forward because someone else is not ready yet. Can't do it. That is absolute self-sabotage. And that is what we're not doing. It is also horrible self-care because it will cause you all kinds of anxiety. It will cause you resentment. It will cause your emotions to go through the roof in crazy times, and just a whole bunch of other negative feelings, negative energy that takes you off task from achieving the goals that you want to achieve. All right? So when you're talking about addressing those fears of success, and I spend a little bit of time on that one because I know it is a big one. And it is one that I, like I said, have had personal experience with people I love dearly. But there are times when you have to let go. And what it is, they say the path to success is rough because it hasn't been traveled by a lot of people. Think about that. Remember, Those roads that are smooth and going is because a lot of people have traveled it and they've paved the way and it's all pretty. But if you're on a different path and it's a little rough and it's unpaved, that doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It means you're a leader on it. Go with that. And remember that you may be paving the way for someone to come behind you to achieve the level of success that you are seeking. Completely different mindset. And when you turn that switch and flip that to think about how you are a leader in what it is you're doing versus just, batting people back because they're either scared for you or scared for themselves about what they're going to lose, all kinds of things. When you're trying to grow as personally, but as a professional as well, you have to take these things into account. Which is that last piece is you have to you have to recognize when self-sabotage activities are happening. What do they look like? We all know what they are for ourselves. If you're taking a real look and you're sitting back. Procrastination. Hello, Patty procrastinator right here. I know, I've put fun at myself for that forever. That's because I'm a perfectionist. I acknowledge that. I'm a recovering perfectionist. And one of the things I learned down through the years is that procrastination is a byproduct of perfectionism. Imagine that. But so it's one of the worst things that you can do to self-sabotage because you want things to, quote, be perfect, to be just right. There is no perfect. Perfection is an illusion. It is subjective, all right? And here is the thing that you need to know, that moving forward and taking steps in imperfection is better than taking no steps in perfection. Let me say that again. Moving forward imperfectly is movement. Standing still in imperfection is no movement. So which one do you want? Do you want to be sitting still, trying to get everything just right and still stuck where you are? Or do you want to be moving forward and stumbling along the way, but you're moving forward? Okay? Think about it in those terms. Excuses. There's always an excuse for something. I mean, hello. If any of those of you that have children, you are very familiar with that. Or if you have employees, right? It doesn't matter. Children, employees, sometimes, closely related. But it's like there's an excuse for everything. That's not to say there aren't valid excuses sometimes. There are. But there's not an excuse for every single thing. Like sometimes you're just putting it off. Like you're literally just not doing something because you're not addressing one of these other issues that you're scared of. What is it that you're scared of? Okay? And then just, quote, letting things slip. Oh my goodness, I forgot about that. How did that happen? No. Start looking at your habits. Start looking at those things that you're doing or saying where you realize now, oh crud, I am like really in the middle of really undermining myself. Because that's what self-sabotage is all about. You're undermining yourself while you're doing it. Don't beat yourself up over it. Get to the heart of the matter. Figure out what's going on. Get a coach. Get an accountability partner. Talk to a mentor if you have one. Okay? But dig in. Do the reflection. Do the work. Because you have things to do. And so do I. And I would love to work with you to make them happen together. All right. Break. We're all done. That is it for today. I'm super excited for those of you who joined in. I see some people. Thank you, guys. Make sure that if you have any questions, do not hesitate to slip them to me. You can put them in the comments. I go back and I check. Or you can message me privately, email me, whatever. I'm happy to reach out and talk to you about it. Lots of great things going on. Also, a couple of things. Don't forget, Coffee Time Career Chat on Wednesdays is a recorded session, but we're focused on authentic networking. And so I'm super excited for that. Same time, you'll see it posted. Look forward to following up with you then. And if you are looking for a coaching opportunity, or someone you know is looking for a coaching opportunity, let's get the year started off great, okay? It is February 1st. It is not too late. It is never too late to take the first step toward changing your professional trajectory, okay? It's never too late. It's always a great time. So if you know someone who needs professional coaching, I'm happy to have a chat with them. I still have some VIP intensive time slots for this quarter available, where we can set up and do work 2, 4, 6 hours at a time. And it's very targeted, very laser. I love doing those sessions. My clients who I work with doing those have tremendous insights gained that help them in moving forward on their goals, both professionally and personally. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Forward this link, and you can check all these things out at patriciavhayes.com. Thanks, you guys, for joining me. Have a fantastic week, and I will talk with you later. Bye-bye.